What's up, everybody? Michael Walsh here. So today I want to talk about Mackenzie Dern and how I was pleasantly surprised by her performance. Now, if you didn't see it, I put out a video in the last couple of weeks talking about women's MMA. Because if you're a longtime viewer of my channel, you may have noticed I don't talk a lot about women's fights, okay? When I make GOAT lists, I don't include female fighters. Shevchenko and Nunes and people like that aren't showing up. And generally speaking, I don't cover those fights. On occasion, I will. But I finally did a video, like at last, giving my stance on women's MMA as a whole and my sort of relationship to it as a viewer, and whether or not I think the UFC should keep it, whether or not they should just do away with all their women's fights, all their women's divisions. And my ruling was that I'd be okay with them getting rid of them. That the women's divisions largely aren't panning out. Even the good ones like strawweight are, like, if anything, getting worse, it feels like. You kind of long for the old days of Joanna and Rose Namajunas and Andrade and, I'm just not interested in hardly any of these fights. However, Mackenzie Dern, a champion I didn't give a shit about. Like, when Mackenzie Dern won the title, I was like, yeah, strawweight has gone to hell. When this fight was announced, when I saw it as the co-main event, I was not interested. And it did still play out in the negative way I predicted, in that I knew the main event between Gary and Islam, whilst intriguing from a stylistic matchup, and whilst maybe having some in-moment drama as you viewed it, I knew there was a good chance that was going to go 5 rounds and not be that exciting, which is what happened. And I knew it would be a bad idea to immediately before that have another 5-round title fight where it's likely to go the distance and likely not to be that fun. Having those two back-to-back, not a great idea. If you're going to have that, like Dern's title fight should have been like a fight night main event, or it should have been the co-main event to a really exciting title fight. This was a bad pairing. But regardless, I gotta give Dern her flowers. I liked how she looked. She performed quite well. Her striking has come along leaps and bounds since she came to the UFC. Because she used to just be a jiu-jitsu lady with just sloppy everything. And then she started working with Jason Perillo, and she developed an okay jab, but everything else still was terrible. And she just didn't look like a very well put together fighter. And I didn't think she was ever going to be the champ in what still remains women's MMA's best division. But I gotta say, she's developed. She's become a pretty good fighter, a pretty well put together fighter. And don't get me wrong, there's still a couple of big issues, every time she throws a leg kick, her chin is just up in the air. And, it's not that you constantly have to get your head offline when you throw a kick, because that's kind of the 101 thing you're taught, is if you throw a low kick by itself, throw your head offline so that you're not there to be punched back. Because if they catch you on one leg, you can be knocked out. So a good way to defend yourself is A, to cover with your other hand, and B, to throw your head offline. Dern does not do that, and you don't have to do that, but you have to do something to keep yourself safe, right? You have to do something. You can be chin down, posture forward, arms up, and throw a low kick. And if you do that, or if you do that and reach with a long guard or something, you can do that and not get your head offline and be okay. But Dern, her hands are down, her chin is up, and she's just throwing the kick and not getting offline. It's that's bad. That's just a glaring amateurish error. But regardless, I think her overall skills really showed themselves. Her hands looked good. Her jab looked good. Her combinations looked good. Her kicks looked good, aside from that one error with the low kicks. She's landing body kicks and stuff are looking crisp. Her footwork really impressed me. She was doing a good job retreating and then moving laterally. She was showing really good pivots. She was just straight up matadoring Robertson at points. That's good shit. And she was using her hands to set up double legs. Because she used to initially have no takedowns at all. She was the classic jiu-jitsu person and guard player with no fucking takedowns. These were good. It's not George St. Pierre level shoot fighting and that seamless of integration between the punches and the shots, but pretty good. Decent shots, good punches, good transition between the two. This is a real fighter. And I like that. She did get tired, don't get me wrong. Like, I noticed it, and I think it was round 2. It really became obvious to me when she was attacking the leg. There was that moment where she was sitting like reverse on top of Robertson, and she was going for the leg, and Robertson had her legs figure forward, and Dern was trying to separate it, and you could tell that she was kind of feeling labored at that moment. It still didn't matter. Like, she still won the fight pretty comfortably, and Robertson never really got a lot of momentum in reverse, but it still had a little bit of the shape of the main event, right? Where Islam just like runs Gary over for the first 2 rounds, and then Gary like has a very successful 3rd round, gets back into it, and then the 2 rounds after that are competitive. It wasn't like that, but it still a little bit took that shape again. Like it started very strong. Rogan correctly said that round 1 could have been a 10-8 for Dern. And it kind of kept going like that. But from round 3 forward, there was more success from Robertson, or more success in like halting the just domination of Dern, more like. And that happens. Like, if you're going for a submission, it's tiring. Like, I don't think a lot of people realize this if they don't train. But I would say that aside from takedown attempts, like, submission attempts are possibly the most tiring thing you can do. Because whether it's like a locked in choke or something, like Dern had at the end of the 1st round, she very nearly got that rear naked choke, but she's squeezing. Whether it's like that, or like if you have like an arm triangle, Katagatami had an arm choke. If you think of like Armin Saryukian going for that against Dan Hooker and having Hooker cycle between different defenses and whatnot, that's very tiring. You're squeezing that whole time. Even just going for other shit, like going for an arm bar from your guard, like Dern was doing in the 5th, that's tiring. Like, you are pulling that arm really hard. You are pressing with your legs really hard. Like, the squeeze is a real thing, and it takes time. Meaning it's like it's a prolonged, like, high effort isometric thing. And you saw that affecting her in that position I described, the one where she's sitting on top trying to separate the legs. You see her straining to separate those legs, and you see it taking a toll. And that may have been pride, because Robertson apparently has the record for submissions in the division, and she was saying that her jiu-jitsu was going to hold up so well against Dern. So maybe, like Rogan kind of speculated, she was trying to submit her on principle and shot herself in the foot a little bit by failing to do so, getting quite close at the end of round 1, but failing nevertheless, and then like pooping herself out a little bit. Like, that could have been what was happening. A smarter move would be to land ground and pound. Like, that's a way in which her game could improve. She might still be so confident in her jiu-jitsu that she just thinks, I just hit the mat with anybody and I'm going to submit them. She could still have that mindset when it's like, well, this is MMA. Like, let's take advantage of our options. Let's do what's optimal. Like, if you're going to get a dominant position, pound them out first and then submit them. Wear them down, get them hurt. Get them bleeding, get their eyes swelling shut, take advantage of the fact that we can do 12-6 elbows now, do shit like that, and then look for the submission. So all these criticisms do illustrate that Dern is still not like representative of the peak of the sport. I mean, shit, she's still not representative of the peak of women's MMA. Like, Valentina Shevchenko is still a better fighter than she is, but this I liked. This kind of gave me, it's like women's strawweight was a cadaver. It was a dead person laying on the floor, and you're giving them CPR, and you're trying to get that goddamn heart rate to start. This was like the heart rate finally kicking in. You can faintly hear the beats now. That's sort of how I felt after this fight. It's like, okay, there's some life. This isn't technically dead. So this isn't to say then that I'm like hyped for women's MMA now, that this just totally rejuvenated my hope as far as the strawweight division returning to its golden days. I don't think that will happen, but for a fight that I was just completely writing off and was completely disinterested in, and for a champion that I was incredibly dismissive of, this was pretty good. Pretty good. Not the bleeding edge of MMA. If you compare Dern to Islam Makhachev, right? The champion in the following fight, the pound for pound best men's fighter, Like, if you compare the quality of that match between Islam and Gary to the quality of this match between Dern and Robinson, there's still like a massive, massive, massive gulf between them, which to me, kind of, circling back to that video I posted, like, I do still kind of just stand by my conclusion in that video, which is that women's MMA is revealing itself to be a failed experiment, in the sense that the women's divisions are just not fucking catching up, and they probably never will. So if that is enough grounds to just cancel it and get rid of those divisions and allow them to exist kind of exclusively in organizations like Invicta and not in the UFC, not in the premier MMA organization, then I'm fine with that. But if they're going to stick around, this is the kind of shit I want to see, right? This was not the most exciting fight, don't get me wrong, and still a bad co-main event to Islam Gary, but as far as just not rolling my eyes at the like utterly poor level of MMA on display in a fucking title fight in a lower weight class, this did not make that happen. So it's good. I'm happy. Like, this left me on a positive note. It put a good taste in my mouth. Okay, so those are my thoughts on that. Wanted to cover that quick. I didn't cover this fight at all in the lead up. Most people weren't. Most people shared my overall view of it. But I do want to shout out Dern, because not only did she like very dominantly and comfortably win, but she showed meaningful improvement. She showed promise. She showed, she gave you a reason to maintain any optimism you might have had that women's MMA can still be good, which isn't my actual opinion, but if you are of that opinion, she gave you reason to cling to it. So those are my thoughts on that. Let me know what you think down below. Like if you have not, subscribe if you have not. Check out my other YouTube channel if you have not. It's called Michael Walsh Nerd Stuff. I will link it down in the description box. On that channel, I talk about nerd stuff. I talk about comic books, video games, anime, sci-fi, all that kind of stuff. I'll probably have a video dropping today where I give my reaction to the newest Avengers Doomsday trailer. If you're interested in that kind of thing, check it out. If not, no worries, just stick around here. But in any case, take care.